Hey, Ben Stark here. We're going to be recording a Baldur's Gate Alchemy draft. Wizards hired me to make this video. It's sponsored by them, so if you like it, give them a little thank you. The set came out about 5 days ago, so I've done plenty of practice drafts, but I wouldn't call myself an expert yet. So hopefully it'll be a good draft, but there might be a pick or two that I may make differently if I draft the set again in a month. And I don't know like every rare. I've obviously read the preview list, but I haven't seen everything in play yet or anything. Okay, so let's see. This card I think is quite good. Create X soldiers. That's pretty broken. You can spend any amount of mana and get that many, and then the creature is giant. If I remember correctly, I think I played against this card once. I don't think I've had it yet, Horn of Valhalla, and it was totally busted, so we're probably going to take it. Let's take a look at the rest of the pack. Draconic Lore is excellent. There's a ton of dragons. Dragons is actually my favorite archetype to draft in this format. I think like a lot of the Teamer Dragon decks are totally busted. The blue-green gold uncommon is fantastic. The 2-mana one that lets you play dragons from the top of your deck. And you can do basically any two colors of dragons, blue-green, blue-red, or green-red. I tend to usually play all three because there's reasonable fixing and you want to use all the good dragons. But Horn of Valhalla seems like a busted enough white card to take over Draconic Lore to me. I think Kaga is quite good as well, that black-green gold uncommon. But again, this is a one-color card. It's going to be good in any white deck. And, I mean, you get both halves. That's how Adventure works. First you play the Adventure half, and then you get to play the other half. And, I mean, it is just really busted. I mean, however much mana you have, if you have 5 mana, you make 3/1/1s, and then you get this powerful equipment. If you have 9 mana when you draw this, you make 7/1/1s. So that's just an incredible card. I've always really liked X spells in Limited for their flexibility because when you draw land light hands, you can still play them, and when you draw land heavy hands, you get more out of them. All right, let's see. So Soldiers of the Watch is an excellent 2-drop. It makes a copy of itself when it attacks, so ultimately you get 2 2/1s out of 1 card. I don't think Ambition's cost. Sword of Coast Serpent is good, bounce spell and then a big blue dragon, but I don't think, given the white broken rare, I don't think that's worth taking over Soldiers of the Watch. If this was pick 1, pack 1, I would take Sword of Coast Serpent over Soldiers of the Watch. Definitely not looking to, completely force the first pick. I know I'm known for stay open drafting, but this is a format with a really high power level, tons of great cards. You do want to find the open archetype in colors, but if you can play a card like Horn, I think you want to. Unless I'm wrong. I've only played against the card once, but I think it beat me handily, and on the surface, it seems like a really good card. I mean, it's not just the adventure part. I mean, the equipment, it makes a creature enormous. So, I mean, after you make 3, 4, 5 1/1s with it, then you have you always every turn have one creature to attack with that's an 8/8 or whatever, or 6/6, however big. So I think it's just a really powerful card. All right, so the Orb of Dragonkind is good if you're dragons, which we're not looking to do. White and black don't do dragons. Green, red, and blue do, as I talked about a bunch. I think this is just going to be another Soldiers of the Watch. I mean, look, it's not one of the best white commons or anything. I mean, the Priest that draws a card and the Hippogriff that gives Indestructible and then it's a 2/3 flyer. Those are the best white commons, and the 1-mana white removal spell that does damage equal to the number of creatures you control. But Soldiers of the Watch is just a good 2-drop that we're happy to get. So we're not happy to be second and third picking it, but we are happy to play virtually any number of it, especially if we're going to do some sort of white weenie aggro deck, which is what we want to put around the Horn. Okay, so Flaming Fist Dustguard, again, another fine 2-drop, nothing special. I like this one less than Soldiers of the Watch. The +1/+0 boon is not like very strong. It's basically just 1 2-mana 3/1, whereas you get 2 different cards out of the Soldiers. I mean, Double Team, puts the card in your hand, so you still have to cast it. So it's 4 mana you're spending for 2 2/1s, but it's 1 card. So the reason I really like that is because you can use your mana effectively on turn 2, and then you get enough value out of your 2-mana card. Here I'm going to take Owlbear, one of the better green commons. I don't think we want to take like Sepulchre Ghoul here, even though we might have some tokens to sack. Black-red sack, treasure's kind of a thing. But green-white life gain in creatures is definitely an archetype in this format where you just, you gain a little life so you're basically unraceable, and the life gain like grows your creatures, and you just attack. It's just a standard weenie deck, let's say. And I think that's where I'm going to lean towards. And even though Owlbear is not, a small creature, it doesn't fit the white weenie theme, it's just a very good card. 5 mana, 4/4 trample, draw a card. It was good in its format. It's good in Alchemy. It'll be good if they reprint it. It's just a powerful card. Here, we have a decision, I think, between Band Together and Stalwart. If we are 100% to play green, we're definitely taking Band Together. I don't think we're 100%, but I think a 4th pick Owlbear, 5th pick Band Together means green is likely open. And green goes well with white as just like I said, a creature deck where you're trying to gain life, take advantage of life gain synergies, and just play like a bunch of creatures and always be attacking. So I think the Horn will work well in a green-white deck along with the removal spell and the Owlbear. So I see no reason to deviate from this. I mean, white doesn't seem particularly open. Like I said, we haven't seen any of what would be considered the 3 best white commons. I think Soldiers might be like 4th or 5th. It is a good card, but we did take it 2nd and 3rd. But I think green is almost certainly open, given we got a 4th pick Owlbear and a 5th pick Band Together. So we'll see, if we have to drop our first 3 picks. If I have to, I will. I don't want to. So here I guess I'll take Ettercap. Just a fine way to kill a flyer and then get a body. Better in like a defensive dragons type deck than it is in a white-green aggro deck, but still a playable card. This is best of 1, so we won't be sideboarding. If we were, I would like something like Ettercap even more because it's a good sideboard card. All right, so it does seem like we're seeing a lot of blue cards. I don't think any of these blue cards are good. I don't like the Dragonborn Looter, even in Dragons. I don't like Contact Other Plane. You always have tons of like cards in this format. You don't really want to play dedicated card drawing that isn't a creature. I think we can take the Unicorn. It's a good white weenie card, or we can take the Sepulchre Ghoul. I think I'm going to stick with the theme here. We make a bunch of 1/1s. We're going to try and draft. We have 2 Soldiers of the Watch, which remember is 2 different 2/1s. So I think this ability to pump all our small creatures will be quite powerful. I got to say, though, it does seem like we're not really seeing much white, and we are seeing black. Now there's Guildsworn Prowler. This is one of, if not the best black common. I think it might be number 1. I like the removal a lot in this format. Grim Bounty is quite good. But this card is like very good. A 2-mana 2/1 Death Touch, and if you're on the offensive and they have to block it, you get a card when it dies, is just really powerful. And if you're on the defensive and you block with it, yeah, you're not getting the card, but you're probably killing 4/4. It's just an overall extremely good card. So maybe we'll still play like white-black or black-green. These blue cards are, again, not impressive. The Nefarious Imp is good if you're going to be a little aggressive black-white deck. It's not a card I really love, but it's good in black-red because you have all the treasures to sack. And black-white, I think, according to the like archetype guide, is supposed to be about like leaves play triggers and stuff. So if we draft a bunch of little creatures, which we're on pace to do with 2 Soldiers of the Watch and Horn, and a white-black little creature grindy deck, then Nefarious Imp might perform pretty well in that, since it's a cheap aggressive flyer to attack with, and its ability will trigger every time we lose a token or anything, right? Alright, don't want to draw 3, lose 3, Sewer Plague is fine, removal. So yeah, my impression of pack 1 is that black is probably the most open color we're seeing, probably green second. We're still probably going to play white, because I think white is still our best color as of right now, but I think that we're more likely, I think we're definitely seeing more black than we are white. I'm going to stay out of blue since we already have 3 different colors, and we're only going to play 2 of these. I mean, you can light splash off fixing, but this is a 2-color format, aside from 3-color dragons like I talked about. I mostly just draft any 2-color combination. I think they're all playable, but I don't really draft 3-color decks in this format. I draft, like, pick a 2-color combination and then focus on that archetype and its synergies. Okay, so the Archivist is fine. I mean, people shouldn't search their deck very often. I mean, there are mechanics like Seek, 2-mana 2/2 Flash. I think maybe the Celestial Unicorn is better. Definitely if we go green-white, it's better, I think, because green-white does the game life thing. I don't know if black really has much game life, but we'll still have whatever white ways to game life. Guardian Naga is fine. I don't really like it. Sometimes you get an artifact or enchantment, sometimes you don't. Actually, I think that we didn't get much more green, and I think our deck will make for a nice black-white like token weenie type deck. So I think I'm just going to take Guildsworn Prowler here. I think Guildsworn Prowler is definitely better than Archivist. I know Archivist is the rare, but unless you surprise them with that in response to something, and then it's a 2-drop that had to be sitting in your hand, you're not necessarily going to draw a card off it. There are some ways to search. You might not. Even if you draw 1 card off it later, the 2-mana 2/1 Death Touch just comes out and starts attacking, and it's hard to block. And a lot of times they have to block it, and you draw a card. Also, you get the card anytime it's not blocking, right? So if I, like, sack it for profit, I get the card. Yeah, so I think that the Guildsworn Prowler is probably a little better than that white rare, even though it's a common and that's a rare. Okay, so let's see. search for X lands. X is greatest power among creatures you control. Whatever, that might be a card for dragons. Although by the time you already have 5 mana, you probably don't need 5 more. When this dies, it gets -1/-1. That doesn't seem impressive. It seems okay, but for 5 mana in this format, that's not great. You hear something on the watch is pretty good. We're trying to draft like a token weenie deck. We're gonna pump our team some of the time, and we'll just kill an attacker some of the time. I feel like we're almost definitely gonna play black-white. All right, another white rare. This one looks good. Specialize is a really powerful ability. Some people, I think LSV were ragging on it because of the amount of text. That's fair, but the cards are still very good. When it enters the battlefield, creatures in your hand get +1/+1 perpetually. Okay, that's ridiculous. You play this on turn 2, every creature in your hand gets +1/+1, and it doesn't change their casting cost. That's a ton of power and toughness. And then it specializes. When this creature specializes, you get a boon with when you cast your next creature spell, and it's about with lifelink. That's not actually that impressive, but this card seems excellent. What's the black-white? When this specialized, create 2/2/2 black zombies? Okay, well that's totally busted. Okay, this card is going to be absolutely ridiculous. We're 100% on black-white now, because, I mean, this card might be just white because you can specialize into any color. I don't know what every color does, but the black specialization ability is totally bonkers, if I read that right, and you just get 2/2/2 tokens. I mean, you can specialize this thing on turn 3 and get 2/2. Really? Like, that's what this does? Yeah, that's apparently what it does. Okay, so we're going to focus on black-white, which is good, because the cards have infinite text in this format, and like I said, I don't know every rare. I know all the commons. I've played probably 10 to 15 drafts. Shambling Ghast is pretty good. It gets blocked by 2/2, it kills it. Can always sack it for profit or leave you a treasure. Maybe the black land to seek once is a little better, but I don't want too many tap lands. I don't have any yet. I think the gate is probably better. Even if I'm going to be an aggro deck, you know, that's a term that I think people go too far with. I'm going to play creatures. I'm going to play medium to long games. My opponents are going to have cheap cards and interact with me. Ultimately, having my land produce value, being able to seek once for a card, is going to be pretty valuable. And while I don't want a ton of tap lands in an aggro deck, it's pack 2. They're on commons. I'm probably not going to get that many. This blinks all your stuff, right? Right. Return those cards. Yeah, and if you get 10 through 20, it does it twice. I don't have a lot with comes into play ability, so that doesn't seem like it's going to be impressive for me. So I'm going to take the unicorn in case we get life gain. I hope I read that rare right. I've seen it once or twice before. I'm pretty sure it just exiles all your stuff and then returns it. If you hit the 10 to 20, it does it like twice. That could be really good if you have a lot of comes into play abilities, but I don't think we do. So when Rescue enters the battlefield, you may return another permanent to your owner's hand. That triggers comes into play and leaves play abilities. That seems pretty good. And it's just a 2-mana 2/2 with upside. Plus you can save your creature in response to removal or something like that. Mind Spike is okay. It's not great, but the whole problem with Duress trades up 70% of the time, but when it whiffs, it's horrible. When this whiffs, you draw a card. So it can never whiff, basically. I mean, it can cycle, which isn't great. I don't think we're going to play it, but I don't think we're going to play the Trap or the Baleful Beholder either, so I'm going to take it for now. I know I put the Baleful Beholder and the Eyes of the Beholder here in the deck, but these cards are probably not going in our deck. They're just too expensive for what they do. I'm not saying they're unplayable, but they're definitely unexciting. Rally Maneuver is a pretty good combat trick. If you draft a deck full of little creatures and you're always going to be attacking, this card is going to be effective almost every time, and once in a while you'll get a 2-for-1. You'll almost always, like, you know, just +2/+0 and first strike and kill something. But sometimes they'll make multiple blocks and you'll get a real blowout, though I do think that's rare. Okay, Chain Devil is going to be awesome for us. We're going to have creatures to sack, like these Guildsworn Prowlers that draw a card if you sack them when they die. We're going to have 1/1 tokens and little creatures, you know, a 2/1 that got us another 2/1. This is, Chain Devil is like tailor-made for black-white, basically. Because the archetype is supposed to be like Leaves Play triggers, like Guildsworn Prowler, so that's a card that takes advantage of that. Similarly, Flaming Fist Officer here is going to be quite good with these Chain Devils. You know, we'll sack a creature and then it grows. So I think that we found our archetype. A little bit of a bumpy road getting there, but we're definitely going to play black-white. It's a creature-based synergy deck around creatures coming to play and Leaves Play. It's a weenie deck. You want your creatures to be small and grindy, and you just take advantage of, you grind out like little advantages from when they come into play and Leaves Play. This card is totally broken, if I remember correctly. I think I saw this once before as well. Return all creature and planeswalkers from your graveyard to the battlefield. Yes, so we're drafting a weenie deck. Weenie means small creatures. So we're going to end up like having most to all of our creatures cost like 3 or 4 mana or less. So for 6 or 7 mana, we just bring back everything dead. This is just like near unbeatable, totally busted, like super exciting rare. Windmill Slam. This is the 1 mana removal spell, Patriarch's Humiliation, that I referenced earlier. It's excellent. It's really cheap. We're always going to have creatures out. Not in consideration over Ascend from Avernus, I don't think. I mean, like, literally, we're going to grind, we're going to trade, we're going to sack creatures, and then they're going to sack creatures, and then we're just going to tap 6 or 7 mana and bring everything back and win the game with this card. But I'll be happy if I can get some of that white removal spell, that 1 mana white removal spell. It's very efficient. All of our cheap cards here are very good. The Unicorn might not work. We don't really have life gain. But everything else looks excellent. This thing can like turn into a lifelinker, the Clement, but we don't even want to do that. The black-white one looked a lot better than the mono-white one. So I'm going to assume we can't play the Unicorn for now. But everything else here looks great. Skullport Merchant enters the battlefield, create a treasure, sack another creature or treasure, draw a card. This is nice. Again, trigger our sack effects. Obviously, it's better to sack treasures than creatures, and we're going to have way more creatures than treasures, but that's still going to be a powerful card, and it makes a treasure when it comes into play itself. Quick creature gets +0/+2, and it has protection, demons and devils, whatever. There's some, not that many. Yeah, it doesn't seem good. Deadly Dispute would be fine, but I think Skullport Merchant's clearly better. I'm glad we found our lane. Pack 1 was a little bit rocky, but this is definitely the right deck to draft in this seat. It does seem like we're seeing white, and we're definitely seeing black, and black-white, like sack, little creature grindy deck is what we're supposed to draft. So, you know, I think of all 10 archetypes, this is the correct archetype to be drafting in this seat. Okay, so again, the Chewinga's good. Not amazing or anything, but good. You know, this is only when it dies you draw a card, so it's not like if you bounce that you get a card or anything. Minimus Containment's fine. Again, I prefer the 1 mana white removal spell. Leaving them a treasure has real costs. I don't think the Minimus Containment's unplayable, but I don't think it's good. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sack an artifact creature. So this can trigger our stuff. I think I'm just going to go with the 2-drop that bounces things. I hope I got it in time. I might not have. Actually, I didn't, because I already had a Chewinga. What did I get? Bronze Walrus. Well, this card's fine, too. Comes into play Scry 2, tap to add a mana. Sorry about the mispick there. I was kind of torn between those 2 or 3 playable white cards. I think it was a close pick, but ultimately I wanted the Rescuer Chewinga. I think that would have been the right card to take. I should have highlighted it, but we'll be all right. It's not a key card by any stretch. All right, you mill 3 cards, return a creature from graveyard to the battlefield. No thank you. Looks like I'm going to get another Bronze Walrus. This card's fine. I don't mean to be hating on it like it's not a good card. I mean, it's better if you're like Dragons or Ramp or something. But there's nothing wrong with Scry 2. Once you already have 3 mana, you generally don't need more lands. So every land you scry to the bottom is almost draw a card. So this is almost 3 mana 2/2 draw a card, a tap to add a mana. It's not quite that, but it's almost that. So it's a good card. I will probably play it. I don't know if we'll play 2 or not, but I think it's overall pretty good. Then if combat on your turn, mill a card, we can do if there are 4 more creatures in your graveyard, put someone down on a creature you control. That doesn't seem good. Blessed Hippogriff is excellent. You just give a creature indestructible and then it lives for 1 mana. It's really hard to play around 1 mana tricks. And then you get a good 4-drop, 2/3 flyer that gives something else flying when it attacks, I think. This card is just great. Probably the best white common. And that's saying something when you have Priest of the Lore, you know, a non-flying, inspiring Overseer if you play the current set, in the set. And Priest is excellent, to be clear. But I think the Hippogriff might be even better. I'm going to grab another Unicorn. I don't know if we'll play 2 or not. We don't make that many tokens, but we do, besides the Horn, have 2 copies of Soldiers of the Watch, which are 2/2/1s each. Bunch of small creatures. So milling yourself might be something you do in this format in some arts. I don't think it's doing much for us other than fueling Ascend. Menace and Death Touch is okay. I don't think this Mace is going to be playable. I don't think we're going to use the Gray Slat either, but maybe. Thieves' Tools, equipped creature can't be blocked. I don't think we really need that. Like, we have Tricks. We have Leaf Play and comes to play Synergy. We have Flyers. Like, this may work with, like, some creatures like the blue one, the 3/2 that draws a card when it hits. I don't think our deck needs that. I'm just going to grab a Vampire Spawn. It's a fine drop. Helps us win races. You can sack it for profit, and you already got the comes into play ability. I don't think it's, like, an amazing card, but I think it's playable. You hear something on the Watch and Manicore, both fine. We probably want the Manicore. We already have a You Hear Something on the Watch, and we really don't make that many tokens. But our creatures are small, so it should be fine. All right, there's obviously no black or white card in this whole pack, literally not figuratively, so I'll take the Rabble-Rouser. This is one of the best red commons. That should not still be in the pack. Easy Deadly Dispute. It's not a card I want a lot of, but I'll definitely play one of it in my deck. We got another You Hear Something on the Watch anyway. So we're going to have to make a couple of cuts. Think 28. We have 1 land, so that's 27. We'll be between 16 and 17 lands with this deck. It might be close because our cards are really cheap. Like, we have a few 4-drops, no 5s other than Ascend, which is a game-winning card for like 6 or 7. Why do I have to craft something? That doesn't make sense. This was a draft. I guess maybe I didn't get that Bronze Walrus that I thought it gave me. That 1 pick, I thought I missed a pick or something. I don't know what happened to that pick, but not a big deal. I don't even really want a second Walrus. If I don't have one, we'll play 1. So 17 lands, maybe 16. Let's take a look. Do we have any card drawing on cheap? I don't really think I want this Gracelad. I'm not really interested in milling myself just to fuel Ascend, which will already be a game-winning card, and the last card you want to play at the end of the game when you have like 6 or 7 mana. And a 3-mana 4/1, even if it just always had Medicine Death Touch, it's fine, but it's not that exciting, so I'm pretty sure we don't want to play that. And then... So what else? So the 2 Steadfast Unicorns are fine. This card is really good if you make a lot of tokens. We're like medium on that. We don't really make a lot of tokens, but it's good with the Horn and the Soldiers, which we have 2 of, and we just have a lot of cheap small creatures. Maybe I'll play 1. I definitely consider it cuttable. Let me go to the better build for deck. This is how I like to view it for deck building. I don't know why it was like the way it was before. Okay, so what I like to do for deck building is move my cuttables off to the side so I can look at what I'm definitely going to play, and then I can decide what to cut. So I think those are cuttable. You hear something on the watch, kind of the same deal. It's great if you make a ton of tokens. It's medium in a small creature deck in general, so it's good, but it's cuttable. Our worst 3-drops are pretty good. Probably like the Walrus, since we don't really use a lot of mana and we're a 2-color deck. I think the Spawn is still pretty good in a deck, a grindy deck that's going to play close games like ours. The Mana Core is certainly our worst 4-drop. So I think these 6 cards are probably our cuttables. First question, or the next question I should say, is do we want 16 or 17 lands? I think it's really close. You can discard extra lands to specialize. That's a nice mana sink to prevent flood. We don't have a lot, but we have a few, right? This specializes. Is that it? It's our only specialize. Yeah, that might be our only specialize. And then Adventure lets you spend a lot of mana. But we don't even have a ton of that. So maybe we want to play 16. The reason Adventure lets you spend a lot of mana is because first you can put the card on its Adventure and then cast the other half. You can cast the other half, I think, without playing the Adventure as well. If that's unclear, you just generally don't want to do that because, you know, max value, right? We're Magic players. We love value. But anyways, it's so you can spend a lot of mana on Horn. You can discard an extra land to the Clement. We can seek a spell with this Gate if we are a little flooded. I think this is really close between 16 and 17. Our cards are really cheap. We have tons of 2s, tons of 3s, very few cards that cost more than that. Think it's probably 16. So I'm going to cut 1 land here. Definitely going to play 8/8. We're just a white-black deck. If we had to add a 9th, I'm not sure which it is. But if you have a 2-color deck and it's pretty close at all, you should always be 8/8. If we had to add a 9th, I'd probably add white, actually, because we have a game-winning triple white card. But this is a late-game card, so I'm not that worried about it. I mean, if we get unlucky and we draw like 4 or 5 swamps and 2 plains and we can't cast it, that could cost us a game. That's probably why I'd add the 9th plains before the 9th swamp. But I'm not going to play extra plains just for that reason. If we're, you know, as long as we don't draw like a million swamps, if we're stuck on lands and we can't cast the Ascend, it's because we drew all spells and then we're in decent shape anyway. If we're flooded at all, if we have 7/8 mana, we should have 3 plains. Okay, so we have to cut like one of these. I think the second Unicorn, especially if we're going to play 16 lands, we don't really need the mana sink. And again, I think we're going to grind, meaning that we're going to like trade and draw extra cards. You know, Chain Devil, sack our Prowler, draw a card, sack a treasure or a little creature to the Skullport, draw a card. Even though it's not technically drawing a card, Soldiers of the Watch basically draws a 2/1 when it attacks. So I think we're going to have plenty to do. I'm comfortable with 16 lands because all of our cards are so cheap. But I don't think I'm going to need the 4-mana mana sink. I think we just cut one of those. And then if we're falling behind and they're attacking us, we can deal 5 to attackers. If we've got a bunch of little creatures out, we can attack and give +1/+1 to all of them. The Walrus could help us, you know, give us a third white or give us a black or a white if we're, you know, if we only draw one kind of mana, but it's a keepable hand because we have like, let's say you draw like Swamp, white 2-drop, white 4-drop, black 3-drop, and like, I don't know, removal spell. I'm probably not going to keep that 2-lander with 2 swamps where my 2-drop is white. But let's say you draw a hand like Swamp, Walrus, black 2-drop, and 2 white cards. That's an easy keep because now you have a black 2-drop and you have Walrus for turn 3 to scry 2 and give you a white mana if it lives. But even if they kill it, you got to scry 2 to find the plains. And so you get to spend your mana on turn 2 and 3, and then you'll probably draw plains by turn 4 or get it from the Walrus. So basically what I'm trying to say is the Walrus makes a hand keepable that is all swamps or all plains that might not be keepable otherwise, and that can have some value. So I think I want to play it. And the mana cord looks good. We don't have that many 4-drops. We'll attack with our little 2-1s on the ground. They'll block us something bigger. We'll kill it with the mana core. So this looks good to me. So I think this is the deck we're going to run. All right, let's get into some games. I think for this video, we're going to play a couple games. We're not going to play all 7 on the video right now, but let's do a few. Okay, clearly I snap keep as we have both kinds of mana, 3 lands, which is the optimal number to draw in an opening hand. With this deck, I would definitely rather draw 3 than 4, rather draw 3 than 2. We don't need the Walrus in this hand, and we don't have a 2-drop to cast on turn 2, so it's not like it's a perfect or busted hand. I mean, if we draw like a 2-drop, it'll be a really good hand, because we'll scry into more stuff to do. But otherwise, we're not using our mana on turn 2. One thing I think some people who've watched my videos over the years have realized is I don't really love combat tricks. This is the reason why. They perform well when they line up, but they don't help you hit your curve. And spending your mana turn by turn is the most important thing in Limited, especially on the early turns. So like imagine you hear something on the watch was a 2-drop. I would have spent my 2 mana in turn 2, and because it was a trick, I didn't. I wasn't able to. That doesn't mean it's unplayable, and that doesn't mean all tricks are unplayable. Some tricks are really good, especially lately. They've been pushing the tricks more in the recent sets. Like, I definitely play, I think it's called Majestic Metamorphose or whatever, the 3-mana draw card in Streets of New Capenna, turn a creature into a 4/4 until end of turn. That's just a really good trick. It kills something and draws a card for 3 mana a lot of the time. But, as a whole, the reason I'm lower on tricks than most people is because they don't help you hit your curve, and, like, creatures hit your curve, and removal spells, while you can't cast them, they don't technically proactively help you hit your curve. They still work in that way because you use them to kill your opponent's thing and you impact the board, which is what really matters. Okay, so the only question is which one on top. We're going to top both, but which one do we want to draw next turn? I think I want to spend 4 mana, not 2 next turn, so I'm going to put the Chain Devils on top. Do I have something to sack? The Unicorn or the Walrus? That seems fine. Rather sack the 2/1. It's pretty close. I'm not 100% sure on the order here. I'm not attacking because I want to block the 3/1 with the 1/2 Unicorn, not with the Walrus. I would block it with the Walrus if I didn't have the Unicorn. It's not like it's a bad trade. I don't need the mana from the Walrus. But it's not worth attacking for 1. Well, actually, if I block, then I don't have something to sack. So now that they killed the Walrus, maybe I should just take it. I wasn't expecting them to attack here, to be honest. I thought... I thought what would happen is they wouldn't attack, so they kind of got me here. I left the 1/2 back, expecting they wouldn't want to trade their 3/1 for my 1/2, so I would save 3 damage, but they attacked anyway, and I'm still not going to block. So all I did there was miss a damage, potentially, but I didn't think they would attack. I didn't think that would be a good trade for them on the surface. And now that I'm drawing Chain Devils, there's no decision, because I want to sack the 1/2 and not the 4/2, and I definitely want to cast it since I don't have anything else to do. But that was, I'm not saying the play was wrong. I mean, I don't know their hand. But to me, that was a surprising attack. I mean, you don't generally want to trade your 3/1 for this 1/2. Its ability is not that incredible. Okay, so if I attack and they block, I can go first strike. I can give it lifelink if I want. I can give like their other Hobgoblin first strike and then get the +0/+2 and lifelink. So I'll gain 4 and eat the Hobgoblin that blocks it. So that's not bad. If they don't block, it's just going to get through. Then I play Soldier, and you hear something on the watch, one of the attackers. That seems fine, too. So I think I attack. If they block, I'll do the +2/+0 to the Hobgoblin that didn't block. and I'll do the +0/+2 and lifelink to the Chain Devil so that I'll eat their Hobgoblin and gain 4, because you can't target the same creature with both halves of Rally Maneuver. That's why you get the blowout with this card when 2 different creatures like block and you're able to like win both matchups. But you can't get the first strike and the lifelink, right? Up to 1 other target creature gets +0/+2, yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to deal 5. I could use the Rally Maneuver, but again, I would only win 1 matchup with it, not both. I think it's better for me to just hold on to that to try and get the real blowout and use both, or just as a more effective trick later. Now, I'm not going to block. The creature gets first strike anyway because there was 6 power when they attacked, so even if I kill it with the trigger on the stack like I happen to do, it still gets first strike. But even if it didn't have first strike, I still wouldn't block because I want to attack and trigger the soldiers. Double team, you have to attack with the creature once to get the other half. So it's really important you do that. Especially because, as you can see, I don't have a lot of gas in my hand. I mean, listen, you pretty much always don't want to block with a double team creature the turn you play it. You want to attack and get the other half. But the less you have to do, the more true that becomes. That's why you're seeing them not block with their soldier either. 4/2 doesn't look like it's going to be too effective, but I still think this is worth rallying maneuvering. I'm going to get 4 life. I can give +2/+0 and first strike to the soldier getting through, so I get an extra 2 damage, and then +0/+2 to the Chain Devil so that it lives. So the end result of using Rally here is basically put a Chain Devil in play, deal 2 damage, gain 4 life. That's pretty good. I like to think of cards like that when I have a decision, like, you know, whether to use a card or not. I like to think about the effect it's going to have. You know, I don't like to think about what the card does. I like to think about, like, what am I getting out of it? Like, in this case, that's what Rally did, right? Chain Devil would be in the graveyard. So I have a 4/2 in play, 4 life, and 2 damage. That's what Rally does if I play it right there. Okay, so this is the second half of Soldiers. It doesn't have double team anymore. Like, I already got its twin here. So now I'm happy to trade it off. Battlecry Goblin's an incredible card. If it sticks around, it makes 1/1s every time it attacks. So no decision there, just snap trade. So that was a really good draw. I was going to say I think we're going to lose because they have so much more stuff than us. But now I'm going to make 4 1/1s. This card performing busted like I thought. It was probably the best draw we could have. Now we have an army. If they attack, we can block. We have 6 attackers to their 3. I thought we were a pretty massive dog in this game, but I think the Horn will almost certainly win us this game now. I think we just went from massive underdog to massive favorite with a really broken card here. Remember, this turn now we're going to play the equipment, equip it to something, and it's going to be giant, and then they have to start chump blocking that. Like, that was a huge swing. So we don't necessarily want to trade off all our creatures because that will shrink the Horn's effectiveness. So the only decision we have now is what to attack with. Like, obviously we're going to attack with whatever creature the Horn is on because they have to chump that. But do we want to trade any 1/1s for any of their creatures? We kind of do because it opens the way for our 4/2 and our 2/1. But we kind of don't because it shrinks the Horn creature. So there's a tension there. I think they're going to run out of creatures pretty quickly. Like, they already effectively have to put this Goblin on the Horn token. So any other blocks they make are 1/1s trading for 2/1s or 3/1s. So those are good trades. Now, they could have Rally, the card that dealt 5 that gives +1/+1 to all your creatures. Sorry, that's not Rally. Rally's this trick. The good too. But they could have you hear something on a watch. Creatures you control get +1/+1. So if I attacked with all 3 of these 1/1s, they could block with like a 2/1, a 2/1, and a 3/1, and then give all their creatures +1/+1, and then they'd win all 3 of those matchups. I'd lose all 3, they'd have all 3 live. So I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is attack with 1 of them, and now they can take 1, and then I'm happy. I don't need it as a blocker. Or they can trade it off for 1 of their creatures, and I'm happy with that trade. And if they want to use You Hear Something on the watch to kill it, I'm happy with that, right? I don't care. But if I sent all 3 and they blocked with their 2/1, their 2/1, and their 3/1, and they played You Hear Something on a watch, then I'd lose all 3, and all 3 of theirs would live, and I'd be really unhappy. Now, if they want to put their 2/1 on it and then play You Hear Something on a watch, who cares? They trade You Hear Something on a watch for just my 1/1/1. So that's why I made this very specific attack, because I didn't want to get blown out by that card, and I don't want to trade my 4/2 for their 2/1, But I do want even trades, like my 1-1 for their 1-1 or my 1-1 for their 2-1, because that helps clear the way for the 7-7 and the 4-2. Okay, so I don't want to take a massive amount of damage unnecessarily. So I'm going to block my 2-1 on their 3-2. Now, the question is, are there any other blocks? Well, actually, oh yeah, they have Vigilance, so this block is definitely good. If they didn't have Vigilance, I was going to say first we have to make sure they're not dead if like I attack back with everything. But this attacker could be blocked by this blocker, so it's the same thing. So it's a clear block. Now, do we want to make any more blocks is the question. I can't block the first striker profitably, so I'm not going to do that. I don't want to double block a 2-1 just because the 3-2 till end of turn. So the only other block that I would consider here would be my 4-2 on their 3-2, which is still just a 2-1, but it's one creature, takes it away so it's not there to block, and then they still just have to chump the horned creature, and then I can move the horn to one of the other 1-1s, so that's fine. It's not great, but it keeps my life total up, so it's a pretty close call. I think this block is pretty automatic. They're going to have to block the horn creature. Do I want to go to 4 is the question. Are there cards that deal 4 to a player? I don't really think so, but I also don't think I'm going to lose unless they sneak in a lethal. Maybe they have a way to give something flying or something like that. I care more about total bodies, so I'm going to block with the 1-4-2 over the 2-1-1s. Because remember, every 1-1 is really like a 5-5 because it's fueling the horn, and I can attack with a horn creature, and I can move the horn to block. So now I attack. They can either double block and lose both, or chump block with the 3-1, so they're pretty screwed. And then I will just move the horn so that I'll have a good blocker. Well, actually, I can't do that, or my creature will die, so maybe I won't move the horn, because it has the damage on it from the blocker. So if I move the horn, I'll lose the token, so I'm not going to do that. If they take the damage, then you can move the horn and have it up for blocking. If they block and you move the horn, then you'll lose your creature. So I don't want to do that. Okay, so now I have a choice again. Chump or take 5. Again, I don't really want to go to 2. I don't want to run out of creatures, but I'll probably draw more. The horn creature is still going to be a 4-4, which is big enough to attack here. That's all I really need. Okay, so because I drew the mana core, the question is, do I attack with all 3? So they have to block the horned creature or they lose. So one of their devoted paladins is going to block the horned creature. And then they could take the 2 or they can block it. If they block it, I'll get to mana core off a 4-4 and I'll be really happy. If they take it, will I also be happy? Well, I won't have a blocker for this devoted paladin, so I'll have to flash in the mana core to block. So you know what I'll do? If they take it, I'll flash in the mana core now, and then I'll put the horn on it. And then it'll be big enough to block the devoted paladin. So I'm going to attack with all 3. I think they'll probably fare a combat trick and block my 1-1 with their 4-4. And if they do, it's great. Then I get to mana core off the 4-4 since it has a damage on it. If they would have took the damage, then what I would have done was bring in the mana core right now with flash and then equip it with the horn. I don't know. They might have a way to steal it, but it's still not lethal. And this might keep it out of like a shock or some small removal range. Okay, cool. So we won that game. That was sweet. Let's get right back in and play another game. So play the top land first. So which 2 drop? Definitely the soldiers, because there's no reason to think they're going to need to block next turn, and I want to be able to attack and get the other 2-1 profitably. You know, if you play this on turn 4 or 5, they might have a 3-3 out. You might not have a trick. You might not be able to attack and get the other half profitably. On turn 2, it's more likely that on turn 3 it can attack. If they trade, you still get your 2-1. You get your double team right when it attacks. It's only a problem if they have like a 3-3, and then I can't attack at all. They had removal, so that didn't work out great, but it's definitely worth that risk. If I knew they had the removal, I might have played the Prowler, but nonetheless, you know, they had to use their good removal spell, 3 damage on my 2/1 to prevent me from getting the other half. That's still not that bad for me. I went with the Fist Officer here over the Imp because I wanted to have it out for whenever any other creature dies, but I might be getting slightly punished because I could have hit for 2 flying. Now I can't really. Maybe I'll just attack and let the trade happen because I have this Ascend. My only concern is I only have 1 plane, so it might be a long time before I Ascend. I don't think that's worth it. I think I'm just going to play the Imp now and pass. I mean, creatures tend to die in Limited, and I'm playing like a little grindy creature deck. So, like, this for Fist Officer, while not impressive at the moment, is going to grow, ultimately. Okay, Clement, one of the best cards in my deck, I think. I can play it and specialize immediately. That looks pretty good. Okay, the dragon can't block. I can block it, so I have to decide whether I want to send the Imp or hold it back. 2 for 3 isn't great, but I don't think I'm going to lose a race since I have Rally and Clement. So I think I'm going to attack with the Imp, play Clement, and specialize it into the black-white version and get my 2/2 drops. I have to discard the Prowler, I think, but I think that's worth it. If it lets you to specialize into the black-white version, discard a white card, I would discard like Rally or Ascend. I think you have to discard the card of that color specifically, if I remember correctly. We'll see in a second. Maybe it's not worth it. I forgot I was going to get +1/+1. Do I want to discard this 3/2? Yeah, you have to discard a black to turn into the black half. Maybe that's not worth it. Yeah, I changed my mind. I forgot. So what I forgot was that this thing gives +1/+1 to all the creatures in your hand, which at this point is only the Prowler. But I think that's enough to cast it because it makes it that much more important that they block it, that they can't ignore it. And then I'll draw a card. And, like, I don't need Swamps anymore, and I don't really want to throw away the Prowler to specialize when the next Swamp I draw can be discarded to make the 2/2 zombies instead of a good card like Prowler. The bad thing about this is if they have removal, they can kill Clement, but it'll come back eventually from Ascend. It'll trigger the Nefarious Imp and the Flaming Fist Officer, so I think I'm in pretty good shape. Like, if they kill it, this grows to a 3/3, and I get a Scry. If they don't kill it, then it lives to specialize another day. Okay, so now Chain Devils, sack a non-token. So I can sack my Prowler and draw a card. The only thing is, do I want to do that pre or post combat? Probably post. I would trade virtually any of my creatures for virtually any of theirs. So I think I'm just going to attack with everything. This 4/2 doesn't have first strike or anything, right? No, it's an incredible card, this dragon, because there's tons of dragons in this format. So every time they play a dragon, they're going to get to kill something with Lozan's ability, so that's near broken. But we're way ahead, so I think we'll be okay. And now I'm definitely going to sack the Prowler, get a card off of it, get a Scry, get a +1/+1 counter. They're going to kill the 3/2, of course, not that dragon, but that's okay. Even though I have this really powerful triple white card in my hand, I still scry to planes to the bottom. Maybe that's really greedy, but my thoughts are I'm way ahead. I just want stuff to do now and to pressure them. Maybe that was wrong because of this dragon, though. It would be right if they weren't killing my creatures. I'm immediately going to change my mind and leave the planes on top, I think. But because they're killing like 1 or 2 of my creatures here, so they're catching up. I was thinking like I'm way ahead, but really Lozan is pretty busted, and it's a pretty even board now. So I actually do want to cast Ascend and get everything back for the win. So that's why I changed my mind. Okay, so the 3/2 can't block. So if they block, they have to block with Lozan, and this will be great because I'll trade way up. I'm going to do the first strike and lifelink here. So we got to give first strike to the Chain Devil if we want it to live, and then we'll just give lifelink to the Nefarious Imp. We're in really good shape, but it was a mistake. I want to be clear. I should not have bottomed that first planes. my thoughts, like I said, were, well, I'll draw the planes eventually if if the game goes long and I'm way ahead and I just want stuff to do. But they were going to kill like 2 of my creatures on their turn with Lozone's ability, which means I'm not way ahead and I'm going to have a bunch of dead creatures and Ascend will be amazing. So that was a bad play. I should have topped that planes. Hopefully it won't cost me. Okay, so I can't mana core this because of the ward 3. So I guess all I can do is attack with the flyer. And then I'm way ahead on life, so I'm not going to mana core their young red dragon, flash it in and block. I'll just seek end of their turn if they play like a 3/3 flyer. And then I'll attack and mana core. 2/2/1, same deal. If for some reason they played some big ground creature this turn, I would bring in the mana core and then hit them for 4 in the air. But now the mana core would just trade with these 2/1s. That's not very exciting. I'd rather seek. Nothing wrong with that. I'll probably end up making that trade and then ascending. But no rush to do that. Okay, so I can ascend for 3 now, which will get back all of this, plus whatever dies this turn, except the Chain Devils. Or I can play Mana Core and the Rescue Chewinga. So this is interesting. If I attack with the Imp, they're almost certainly going to block. So then is Ascend bringing back the Imp and these 4 good enough? I'll have 5, 6, 7 creatures to their 3, and they're at 5. It's good, but I might be greedier than that. I think I'm going to be. I think what I'm going to do here is Rescue Chewinga, my Chain Devil, replay it, and then I can sack something to that. I'm doing this pre-combat so I can get the Scry trigger. It's not super important, but I'll take it. Also, I'm going to sack the Chewinga here, so that can come back into play next turn, and then I can bounce something else again if I want to. And then attack, because the trade is good for me, because I'm going to bring everything back. So, limited magic. This format does have a lot of broken cards. Last game, we won with the Horn. This game, we're going to win with Ascend, assuming they don't counter it or something like that. Like, I think that they're probably in good shape, except for Ascend. Like, their stuff is bigger than mine. They're lower than me in life, but they're pretty stable. But now I'm going to play Ascend, and I'm going to bring back 6 creatures, 7 creatures, whatever's in the graveyard, and the game is over, unless they have a sweeper. This is not a fair magic card. So do I want to return anything to my hand? Maybe not. I'm planning to just attack with everything for the win. Chain Devils could give me that ability, but yeah, I just want everything in play. And no attack this turn. So now I have 8 creatures to their 3, and my smallest creature has 2 power. So that means if they play 1 blocker, it's 8-4, which means 4 creatures get through with 2 power each. That's 8 damage. So for them to stabilize here, they'd have to play 3 blockers. Highly unlikely. That card was so broken. I knew that card was broken. The Horn performed really well the first game when I drew it. I haven't had the Horn yet. I played against it once. Ascend, I don't think I had either, but I think somebody else's video I was watching had it, and every time they cast it, they won. It was just like, here, dump my graveyard and play. I win over and over and over again. It seems like a very silly card. All right, so we have our first dicey hand. We're on the draw. We have a turn 2 soldiers to get another one. We have the Hippogriff, so we're going to have some stuff to do. If I don't find the swamp, though, I'm probably going to lose. Just casting 2 soldiers here isn't great. And there's only 8 black sources in our deck. And some of our black cards draw cards, like those 2/1 Prowlers when they die in the Deadly Dispute. Our white cards don't really draw cards. So I'm kind of worried about this keep. On the play, I would definitely mulligan. On the draw, I would usually keep a hand like this. But it's a pretty high power level format. I have 3 black cards. The Soldiers does give me like a turn 2 and turn 3 play, though. I'm not sure if this is a keeper or a draw. On the play, this is definitely a mulligan. On the draw, I'm not sure if this is a keeper or a mulligan. It's really close, in my opinion. I think I'm going to ship it. I'm going to be disciplined. Martin Musa would be happy. LSV would not. All right, this is a much better hand, so clearly a keep. What are we going to put back? We need 3 lands. The Chwingas are only turn 2 play. Granted, we're not getting any value then. If we play it later, we could bounce the Hippogriff and then get the Indestructible again. That's pretty good. We have 2 3-drops, so we probably want to just put back the Imp. I would say it's going to be the weaker of the 2 3-drops. I mean, we could be greedy and put back a land, but then I'm going to end up looking to scry land 4 to the top anyway. I think the Imp is just a mediocre 3-drop. We have another one that's better for turn 3. I think we can definitely just put that back here. If I draw another 2-drop, I'll definitely hold on to the Chwinga. If I don't, I'll see what they do. Like, if they don't play anything, I'll probably play it end of turn so I can attack for 2. But if they have a blocker up, then I'll probably hold it so that I can use it as a trick. Okay, and we drew another 2-drop, the Prowler, one I'm much happier to play on turn 2, so that's good. I'm definitely not going to block because you don't get a creature if this dies when blocking. And the Soldier's going to give them the second half anyway. And then I'll attack right back. Even though it's a good trade for them, I get my card, so it's actually a good trade for me. This card is very good. I don't know if we're going to beat that or not, but first order of business attack, because I have Death Touch. If they block, we trade and I draw a card, and that's great. After they don't, we're definitely going to play the Walrus. We can scry any lands to the bottom, any spells to the top at this point. That's good. We don't need any more lands. 3 mana, 2/2, tap down a mana, draw 2. That's what this card says. I know it looks like it says scry 2, but in reality it says draw 2. So, this is still a tough game. I mean, Lulu here is really good, but, you know, hopefully they don't have too much else great. If they just give flying to this... I mean, the problem is this thing specializes, then the abilities are all really good. Well, this is one of the weaker ones at least. So that's at least helpful. Okay, I would take this trade, except I have the Hippogriff to give Indestructible, so I want to block and trade, and then you know block and when I block and make what would be a trade, and instead use the Hippogriff's ability because I want to cast the Hippogriff soon. So I'm going to take now because the Walrus is summoning sick and doesn't tap for mana. And then next turn, I can hopefully just make like the same block and then go for the Indestructible. Why does this have double team again? Oh, it's a new one. It's the 3rd copy of Soldiers. They discarded the copy from the... Or it's a second actual, new copy of Soldiers, but it's a 3rd Soldier, not the second. So this is going to double team again. So that's good, but I can't do anything about that. So for now, I'm just going to attack with the Prowler and plan to block with the Walrus and use the Hippogriff's ability. Not great, but if they don't have anything, I kill a 2/1, and then I can cast the Hippogriff, and then I can Chwinga it and do it all again. If they do have something to mess me up in response, it's pretty bad for me, but I can still Chwinga the Walrus at least. I think we're a pretty big underdog in this game from here. But we were also pretty big underdogs in the last 2 games, and we won with our Broken Rares, and they're in there. So maybe we'll top deck one of the Broken Rares at the right time and still be able to sneak this one out. They should not go for a trick first here, I would say. Well, if it's that one, that makes sense. If it was like a pump spell or something, because like I could have removal. Well, even that one, I could have removal in response and blow them out. And this is not a good block on like the surface, so they should know that I have something. Like, if I was the opponent here, I'd be thinking, why didn't they block last turn, and now they're blocking with all their mana up? Oh, they must have a trick, right? And then I wouldn't want to play my Hippogriff here and get blown out in response. Now, as is, I can't blow them out because I don't have a removal. I don't have, like, deal 5 to an attacker or something. I can just give my own Walrus Indestructible. So this is not going to work out poorly for them. But if I think this is a greedy play by them. If I were them, I would probably not go for it. Because... if I were to have killed that in response, they lose the Hippogriff, right? Like, if the target gets removed, the spell fizzles. It doesn't go on its adventure, and they lose the other half too. So, and I just left all my mana up. I had 4 cards in hand. I didn't cast anything. Like, I think that's a really greedy play by them. Okay, so next turn, I can replay the Hippogriff and still have Chewinga, 6 mana, so that's good. So we're not going to Chewinga end of turn. So no real decisions. Attack, because if they trade when I'm attacking, I get a card. And then play the Hippogriff because it's big enough to block all their flyers except this 2/4. And if they've got removal, we've got Chewinga. I don't know if I'm saying this right. Chewinga? Probably am. I don't know. Chewinga. Hashtag command pronunciation for anybody who watched my stream back in the day. Okay, so no decisions. I mean, we're an underdog. Like, this game's not going well. It's not like this is amazing for us that we get to save our Hippogriff, but it's better than not. Now I can trade my Chewinga for one of their ground creatures. Doesn't really matter which. They're the same card. And then we go to 4. Again, like I said, it's not like this is going great or anything. So I need the flyer in play, so I probably have to cast the Hippogriff. So I can't save it for indestructible. They only have 1 ground creature I need to block, so I don't think I need to have Prowler or Walrus up. I think this is just attack and then play Ghoul and Hippogriff. I'm not looking good, but if they're out of tricks, it's not over. Like, they don't really have a profitable attack on board. I mean, they can gain 2 life or whatever. Oh, no, this thing doesn't even have lifelink. Because, like, if they attack with the 2/1 flyer and the 2/4 flyer, I'll block the 2/1 with my 2/3 and eat it. So I can't do anything about that except pump the Ghoul, which is not good. So now I'm taking 4 in the air and I'm dead. Yeah, so that's game, but there's nothing I could have done here. Like, what I was saying was, let's say they didn't have a trick. They can't attack with both. I mean, they can, but I'll eat the 2/1 and take 2. And then I have my 2/3 flyers up their 2/4 flyer. I know they had a Hippogriff too, but I get a draw step to find an answer. But, yeah, that was just a rough spot against that rare Lulu, which is really good. There wasn't really anything I could do there, I don't think. I don't think that game was winnable. I mulliganed and then drew a few too many lands. But, honestly, my draw was fine after the mulligan. That's not really why I lost. Lulu's just a really good card. And you should take it aggressively if you see it. It's really powerful. It's got a lot of text. It gives the next thing you play flying, and then it specializes into something that gives you bonuses for attacking with multiple flyers. Even just giving the next thing you play flying is awesome. You just play some ground creature that's, you know, costs as though it's a ground creature and give it flying, and that's really powerful. It's like, you know, you pay for flyers. Flyers cost more mana than ground creatures. And then what it specializes into is also really good. Okay, this hand's good. Really good, actually. 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, even though it's the 2-drop that's more of a trick. But again, if we're on the play curving out with a hand like this, unless I draw another 2-drop, I'm definitely going to play Chewinga on turn 2. Just start attacking and blocking, and then I can always sack it later if I want cards or something like that. These games have been pretty quick. A lot of my games in this format have been really long. That's why I mentioned I might not record all the games. But those 3 games did not take any time, so I might do this whole run if the games keep being like that. I draft a lot more dragons in this format, which tend to play these long games, kind of like a control deck, than I do, like, you know, white leaning aggro decks like I have right now. So I'm not used to playing short games in this format. I'll be honest with you, I don't love the format. There's a lot of broken rares and just a lot of cards that single-handedly swing the game, and I'm not really a fan of that. But I do like all the abilities and all of the text, and I like the synergy, and I like that, like, every archetype feels draftable to me. So I think that the draft portion is really good, and I think a lot of the games are good, but I think a substantial portion of the games just get completely dominated by one card. I mean, if you really think about these 3 games, they've been pretty good, but really I won 2 games off my rares, and they won 1 game off theirs. But the games that aren't dominated by a rare, where it gets answered, or where no one has one, I think are generally pretty good. Okay, so I don't want to block that thing, but if they want to block with it, that's cool. They don't get the card. So our goal here is to be really aggressive. Well, now they're going to get the card when I Chain Devil anyway. They can always sack it, and then it dies while not blocking. That said, I don't want to block the Skullport Merchant. I can always sack the Treasure for a card and then block with it later. But I definitely want to get at least that 1 card. Okay, so if we play Clement and then specialize it using the Chain Devil and get our 2/2 zombies, that's going to be awesome. I can attack with everything. They can't block because I have this Unicorn. It's activate only your turn, but not as a sorcery, so it's a combat trick. So now I'm going to attack with everything. If they block with their 2/2, I'll activate the Unicorn and eat the 2/2, so they can't really do that. And then after they don't do that, I'm going to play Clement, and I'm just going to specialize into the black version. And this is a clear play because Chain Devil is not very good right now. I don't even want them to sack like this Prowler and draw a card. Like, that's not really helping me. Meanwhile, 2 more 2/2 zombies is incredible because it's unlikely they can play a 3/3 to stop them, or 4/4 I should say. Because even if they have a 3/3, I can still activate the Unicorn. So now I have 6 creatures out on turn 4. Their creatures are small. I want to be aggressive and race because that means the Prowler has to stay back. So like if they're on the aggressive and I have to block the Prowler, then they get a card, right? But if I'm on the aggressive and then they have to block with the Prowler, they don't get a card. So when you're playing against a card like Prowler, if you think you can win a race, you should play really aggressively and not block it and just attack and try and race them. I didn't block this 2/2 Menace with a 3/3 and a 2/2 token here because I have the Unicorn, I have 6 creatures, I'm just like way ahead. So I think they're just dead. Well, so let's see. I have, you hear something on a watch, so I can give everything +1/+1. They can block the 3/3 with their 1/1. And then they take 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. So it's 1 point short of lethal if they block. But I'm not going to die from 14 on their next turn. So this is easy. I'm going to attack with everything. If they don't block, I lethal them with you hear something on the watch, +1/+1. If they do block, I won't play it because there's no need to put them to 1. They can just stay at 5 and I'll save it for next turn. They didn't block because it would have been a chump block. Remember, you know I have you hear something on a watch in my hand because you're watching my video. They don't know that. So that's not a misplay by them or anything to not chump block. They were just in a really bad situation. Three and 1, not bad. I think we can get 7 with this deck. It seems really good, especially if we draw our rares, but even if we don't. If they don't draw broken rares. Especially like, so we're okay against some broken rares. Like if something's really slow and powerful, we may be too far ahead by then. The reason Lulu beat us so well is because it's a cheap, efficient broken rare. You know, it was really hard for us to race them having 2 flyers that block well and gain a little life right away that early in the game. Tell you what though, I was right about, I think it was Clement. When you specialize into the black thing, like that is incredible. You want to specialize so you can get your tokens. So the ideal play pattern with that is just going to be play it on turn 4 and specialize immediately. And then you got a 3/3 and 2 2/2s on turn 4. That's unreal. Okay, so this is a similar hand to the one we mulliganed and lost with 2 games ago. We do have the Horn, though, one of the best cards in our deck. Granted, it's not good in a mana-like draw. We're on the draw again. I don't know. It's a close hand. I think being this grindy creature deck, like our late game is okay with our rares, but you know, other people have more powerful late games. I really think we just have to curve out or this deck's not going to function well. There's only 8 swamps in the deck. Like I said, the card drawing is black. We don't have any priest, the 3-mana 2/1 white creature that draws a card. I think I should mull hands like this. I don't know when I got so disciplined in my old age. Okay, so we're definitely going to keep this. I'm going to put back you here something on a watch. I think it's pretty clear. I would consider putting back the Unicorn if I didn't have Chain Devils, but I need to have stuff to sack anyway, and I can put my 1-drop out on turn 1, getting some damage. I mean, I know I have the Prowler to sack, but you hear something on the watch is like a situational trick. I mean, it can definitely work out, like it won me the last game, but a lot of the time, you know, it's just deal 5 to some mediocre creature. It's not like an incredible card in this format or anything. So I attacked there. I know they had an 0-2, but they don't know that I have nothing. So maybe they take it because they don't want to lose their mana producer. When you play a mana producer on turn 2, that's really valuable, right? Now you have 4 mana to work with on turn 3. So I just attacked because it's kind of a free roll. Maybe they block, maybe they don't. If I had you hear something on a watch and they blocked, I would have +1/+1 and 8 their 0-2. I didn't have it, but again, they don't know that. Okay, so now I can attack with the Prowler. They can trade with like a 1/1 and I get my card. That's not great. But I want those out of the way for when I play Chain Devil anyway. Could you hear something on a watch, give +1/+1, so it'll live. But then again, that's not great either. Then I'm just using that to kill 1/1. I think I'm okay with this trade because I get a card to try and find more stuff to do and I don't have a lot to do. But also, I'm going to play Chain Devils. Oh wait, it's sack non-token creature. Oh, this play was bad. This play was not right. They would have had to sack one of the real creatures anyway. This was a misplay by me. I apologize. My logic was like, well, when I play Chain, they're going to just sack the 1/1. So if I make this trade, which isn't horrible, it's not great. It looks really bad because it's a 1/1 token. But remember, I get the card when this dies, so I want to trade it off attacking. But my logic was, I'll clear the way, you know, so that when I play Chain Devils, I'll have to sack a real creature. But they would have had to sack a real creature anyway, because each player sacks a non-token creature. So that was not a good trade. I should have just not attacked. So my bad. That said, actually, I was going to play Chain and sack the Unicorn. I don't care that much about the Unicorn. But with Horn, I'm going to make a ton of 1/1s, and then Unicorn pumps them all into 2/2s. I think I'm not going to do that either. I hate to use 2 mana instead of 4, but I've got to take into account the synergies in my hand. And while the Unicorn pumping 1 or 2 things is fine, not like especially exciting, I'm going to make like 3 or 4 1/1s off Horn, and then the Unicorn can pump all of them, and that is very exciting. So I don't think I want to sack the Unicorn. So I can't do anything about this. +1/+1's not going to save it. I'm just going to use You Hear Something on the Watch, probably to deal 5 to the Ghoul. I'm trying to prolong this game so that I can play Horn for as much as possible and then hopefully win the game with all the 1/1s and the that value. Well, now they have a 7/6, but this is deal 5. So the only way I could kill that would be blocking it and You Hear Something on watching it. So I think I'm still going to kill the Ghoul, keep my life up and spend my mana. This isn't great, but I think it's worth it. I have a good amount to spend my mana on. So I think I can take 1 hit because I have land 6 already. So we know that I'm going to be able to at least use this for 4 next turn. I'll see what I draw. If I draw something that's good to play, maybe I'll play that and see if I can peel 1 more land. If I draw like something that isn't good to play or a land, I probably have to play the Horn because I'm falling pretty far behind. If I play the Horn, I'm in the adventure, making a bunch of 1/1s. First, let's seek and see what we get. Okay, well, that's something good to play. So now the Death Toucher can block a 7/6. So I think we're going to do that this turn for sure. And wait. Chain Devil, I could like sack the Unicorn, but I'm only killing like an 0/2 or a 1/2. That's not like super useful. I mean, the 1/2 even leaves something behind when it dies. Even though you want to be generally trading the Prowler off as an attacker, it's a no-brainer here. I don't get the card, but I kill a 7/6. I have to do that. This game's not looking great, but if they're out of steam, I think it's still winnable. We're about to make a ton of 1/1s, and then we can grow them bigger. So, no decisions now. We have to do this. I mean, this includes tokens, right? Yeah, so this Flaming Fist Officer is going to be really big. So, if they don't draw removal or, like, anything else to break this game open, this is a winnable game. Like, our back is to the wall for sure, but I still feel like we can win this. So, let's see what they hit. Okay, so they're just going to play a land. I'm definitely assuming the card in their hand doesn't do anything. So what are my blocks? 3/3 and... No, that is Death Touch. I don't want to lose the Fist Officer for sure. So we want to put like 4 1/1s here, I think, if we can afford to, because Death Touch only kills 1 of them. And then we have to block this. And then do I have to trade the 3/3 for the 5/3? It's already going to grow to a 5/5, but I think I have to make this trade. That's sad, because this thing's going to be so big. I could trade off the Unicorn, but I think I'd rather keep the Unicorn around to pump my token army. Also, I'm chumping with the Unicorn, whereas the Fist Officer is a trade, so yeah, I think I have to block the 5/3 with the 3/3. I know this was going to grow pretty big pretty quickly, but I just don't have that luxury at 6 life. I'm not going to take the 5 and go to 1, and, I mean, it was that or chump it with, like, the Unicorn. So let's see. So I do need to deal with the Herd Gorger. Equip creature for each creature I control. So I have 4, so it's going to turn one of these into a 5/5. It's not big enough to block the Herd Gorger profitably this turn. I could block it with a 5/5 and a 1/1, but I think I'm better off, if that's the case, just playing these 2 cards probably. I mean, this will leave a 1/1 behind when it dies, so that's not great either. But then I can block the Herd Gorger with the 4/2 and the 2/3. That seems good. So I'm going to play the Chain Devil. Oh, I have to sack a non-token. So I need to play the Spawn, and then I'm going to sack the Spawn. But then there goes the plan of double blocking. Maybe I don't want to do that. I mean, I don't know what else I would do. I could just chump the Herd Gorger this turn, and then next turn I can profitably block it. This isn't very effective right now. I'm sacking my Spawn, which is definitely better than sacking Chain Devil or Unicorn. And then they get to sack Mike in it and just get a 1/1 token. Well, they didn't do that for some reason, but not a huge deal, obviously. They just sacked an 0/2. It's not like they sacked something good. But yeah, this is turning into a tight game. But the Horn is still leaving me in really good shape unless they have something to break this open. This turn, if I want to kill the Herd Gorger, I have to triple block it. But again, I don't want to take 7 and go to 1. Then I could die randomly if they ever have more creatures than me. So I think I have to trust that my deck's going to cough up some creatures. Nah, maybe not. Maybe I just take it and get aggro. Can I give my creatures Vigilance and play this in Equip? No. I'm 1 mana short of double pump. This doesn't have Death Touch on defense. So I can chump with 1, figuring out any 1 creature can kill it in future turns. I can take it or I can triple block. They're all reasonable options. If I take it, I go to 1, and then I risk dying if they ever have more creatures than me or something that randomly deals 1. That seems too risky to me. I think that I'm just going to chump with 1. Normally, if I was going to chump with 1, I'd put 2 more on it. But the thing is, I can make 1 creature big enough to kill it with this Horn in the future. So I expect to lose less creatures trading with it next turn. So now we can play the Horn, equip an attack, and then move the Horn to something else to block. Only the Chain Devil wearing the Horn is big enough to block the Herd Gorger, though. So I think just Horn, hit them for 5, and then move the Horn to the Chain Devil looks good. I mean, I do need something to block Kaga, because I don't want them to activate that turn after turn. This might have been a mistake, too. I need to slow down a little. This format is so complicated. There's so much stuff going on. Because I could have attacked with the Unicorn and then left up a double block for the Herd Gorger and had the Chain Devil maybe to block Kaga. Because I guess I can lose the Unicorn. I don't want to lose too many creatures. Maybe I just have to take Kaga at this point. The game's going to end pretty soon. I have both the Horn and the Unicorn ability. I don't know how many times they're going to be able to activate Kaga here. And if they attack with the Herd Gorger, I get to trade Chain Devil for it, and that's a good trade because then the Horn can go elsewhere. If they attack with just Kaga, then I can trade Chain Devil for that. I don't have to chump Kaga, it only does 1. But if I can kill Kaga, that's good so that they don't get to activate it again next turn. This is a really tight game. This is the best game I think we've played so far. I have no idea if I'm going to win or lose. I have 8 mana, so I can double activate the Unicorn, so I can attack, and my creatures will have Vigilance, and then I can have them up to block. They won't still have the +1/+1, of course. It's interesting for them to attack with everything. I mean, I don't think they're going to have +6/+6 or something. I'm pretty sure I'm just going to put the Chain Devil on the Herd Gorger. Unless they're playing removal before blockers, which looks like they have something. Yeah, so that's not great. Okay, so I can't take it all, so now I have no real choice, right? I just have to chump. I need to draw something. I'm definitely a little behind right now. I mean, I guess that's technically something, but it ain't much. So I can hit them for 2, 4, 6 if I double activate. Doesn't seem good. One of my creatures wearing the horn will still be short of killing the Herd Gorger. This is not going well. But I can double block the Herd Gorger and kill it. So all I can really do here, I think, hit them with the unicorn, and then I'll move the horn, and then I can double block the Herd Gorger. I think the only way I can really win this game is that rare that brings back every dead creature. But if I draw that, I've got a lot of dead creatures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Plus, like, these will trade off by then, or at least the ghoul will. So I think if I draw that rare, we can still win. The one that I played to win game 2 brought back all the dead creatures. So no choices here. I can't take 7. This thing has Death Touch when attacking, so as much as I'd like to kill it, I can ignore 1 damage. And I have to just let them get an extra card or 2. I can't ignore the 7. I need to prolong the game and hopefully top deck that card. I really don't want them to draw extra cards. It means they'll find more pressure to kill me. But I also don't care if they go up a card or 2. To me, at this point, this game is not really about attrition. It's about top decking, bring back all your dead creatures. Okay, so no decisions here. So I can give it +2/+0 on first strike, kill the owlbear, enters the battlefield, destroy a non-land permanent opponent controls. That just kills me, right? Now I don't have any blockers, I can't do anything. Assuming they kill the unicorn and not the horn. +2/+0 in first strike or +0/+2 in lifelink don't save me. That was a good game. Like, legitimately, that was a great game. Like, when you don't know if you're going to win or lose on turn 10 and you're just in, like, a tough fight, that's great Magic, in my opinion. Okay, 3 and 2, back to the wall now. Thought we had a decent chance to get 7 wins, but 2 pretty good losses. That was a really great game of Magic, and Lulu got us game 3. So it's a keep, but we don't have a 2-drop, so it's not a great hand. But we do have both kinds of mana, a 3-drop and 2 4-drops, so we're definitely not going to mulligan it. We'll just hopefully draw a 2-drop like we did right away because we're a professional. You might notice my 2 losses are the 2 games I mulliganed, and my 3 wins are the 3 games I didn't. Mulliganing sucks. I'm not sure if those 2 planes hands were keeps or mulligans, but I am sure that mulliganing sucks. Never mulligan. That's my professional advice to you. So I'm going to take the hit this turn so we can get its teammate probably. Well, we have a lot to do, including ascend, and they're on the aggressive. Maybe I'm not going to take the hit. This is actually pretty close. Your default play, of course, is to take the hit and attack back and get its double team partner. But they played a 2-3, so I already can't attack profitably next turn. And they're on the aggressive. So I think I'm just going to block and trade. I actually don't even know which I want to trade with either. Next turn, they're going to have enough to pump the unicorn's ability. But a 1-4 should be a pretty solid blocker, and a 4-2 should still trade. So yeah, I think I'm trading with the 2-2 mana producer, not the unicorn. But yeah, I think it was definitely right to block there. Like I said, the default heuristic play is definitely take it, attack back with your double team, and get its partner. But in this case, they had a 2-3 already in play, so I know my 2-1 can't attack profitably. And they were on the aggressive, so I think it was the right trade. All right, so now we can block. I'm not worried. If they have something, I can Hippogriff. Otherwise, whatever. The creatures bounce. I save my 2 damage. So if I play Chain Devil, I sack Merchant to kill like one of their 3, which is fine. Those are pretty real creatures. But if I play Hippogriff, if they don't have anything, I have a really nice block, right? Like, I can double block. No, they can Baldur Stinger the Fire Beetles. I was going to say, like... And they have the Unicorn. So I'm not going to have great blocks regardless. So I think I want to Chain Devil away the Skullport Merchant. And then I can use the Hippogriff on the Chain Devil when I block with it. I know I can't block the Menace creature, but I can block something else and try and give it indestructible. So I'm going to attack for 1 because it's a free roll again. They probably won't block because they don't want to lose the Giant Fire Beetle and they don't know they don't have anything. This is not particularly impressive, but the reason I'm making this play... Remember, I already have Ascend in my hand, so all I'm looking to do is trade off creatures any chance I get, and then I'm just going to Ascend and bring everything back for the win. That's the plan. I'm not saying it's 100% to happen, but if you're thinking to yourself, did you really want to lose the Skullport Merchant? You have a treasure you could sack. Like, is this block really even going to be great for you? Like, you know, and so on. You're not wrong, but the reason my plays are correct is because I have Ascend from Avernus. So I'm just trying to make any trades I can and prolong the game, and then eventually I will just win the game by bringing back all the dead stuff. This card is really busted. Like, if you draft a creature deck around it, and white tends to produce these, like, weenie small creature decks, that's what white kind of does in this format, then, like, all you do is just trade and play, and, you know, you lose your 2 and 3 drops, and they just grind, and then you just get them all back and win, like, every time. Like, it's ridiculous. So, again, this is risky in theory, but if they have the removal, the 2-3 will still kill the 2-2, and I'll just get everything back, so I'm not scared. I know they have the Unicorn Pump, but if they played a removal that cost 3 or more, they couldn't pump. I guess if they had a 2-mana removal spell, it wasn't great. But again, who cares? Our real goal here is just trade off everything. They're white-red. They're not going to be able to counter Ascend. They're not going to be able to make us discard Ascend. All we want to do is trade off all of our creatures for all of theirs, if possible. Okay, so let's see. I guess this is a free kill. Assuming they don't have anything, and then we double block one of these. The other option is double block 2 of the 3/3s, which clearly isn't better other than saving 1 life. I think they're going to have a trick, but I don't think it's going to be a big deal. Like, if you hear something on the watch, all they do is still lose their Unicorn and kill one of the 2/3s, deal us 2 more damage to 5. Pretty safe life total. If they have removal, same deal. Now, like, these will bounce. It's not a big deal at all. That's a good draw. I didn't really want to have to Ascend yet. Now I don't have to. I can block 2 of their 3 creatures. That's good enough. Before I could only block 1 because these have Menace. The Unicorn doesn't, but if I put a blocker on the Unicorn, then I only have 1 left. I can't block a Menace creature. So we can seek with the gate and a turn, right? See if we find a little more to do. I guess now I can't bring back the 4-drop, but I don't think that's that consequential. So this is great. Now I have more to do. I can block safely. I can bring in the Mana Core. I can deal 5 with you. Here's something on a watch. So I'm not worried about if they alpha attack and use the Unicorn. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has reach. When equipped creature deals damage, it deals damage equal to its power to target player or planeswalker. That's kind of a problem because I'm at 7. So now they can send that creature every turn. Whenever equipped creatures deal damage, it deals damage equal to its power to a player. Yuck. Yeah, that's a big problem. So, okay, change of plans. I have to start attacking, and I have to race that. This is very problematic. I can block and sack creatures, and then I won't take damage, and theirs won't die. And that might be worth doing, like, once before I Ascend. But ultimately, if I want to kill their creatures, I have to deal them damage. And since these have Menace, I have to deal them quite a bit of damage. I think what I'm going to do here is double block it. And then sack one of them. And let the others trade. So that I only deal it 2. I don't want you to hear something on a watch it, because then I'll deal at 5. Wow, I thought we were massive favorites. Now it's just a good game. So yeah. If I double block, I'm not going to get the card here because it's already blocking. That's kind of unfortunate, but I don't really have another choice. Oh, no, I could have... Well, no, because I can't sack twice in one turn. Activate only once each turn. I was going to say I could have sacked for a card and then blocked with the ghoul in the spawn, but then I wouldn't be able to activate the ghoul again. The reason for this play is I only want to deal 2 to their creature so that I take 2. I don't want to deal 4 to their creature. So I can gain 2 when the spawn comes back. Why did I take 4? Isn't it how much damage I deal it? Oh, no, it does damage equal to its power. I misread this card. I apologize. So that whole play was bad. Because the creature is going to deal damage to me equal to its power when it takes damage, either way. Wow. Whenever it's dealt, I'm just done. I don't know how I can win from here. Didn't think I was going to lose with Ascend here, but they can put this on the Sellsword. I mean, I can chump it with like a 2 power. Oh no, and then I take damage equal to the Sellsword's power. So I can block and then sack my creature, though. Okay, so I'm not dead. Whatever is on, whatever the Friend Lash is on, I have to sack. So if it's on a menace creature, this is really tight and bad for me, but I don't think I'm dead. So if it's on the Sellsword, I can block it with 1 creature and sack it. If it's on a menace creature, I can only sack 1 of the 2 blocking it. But then I'll take 4 when this takes damage and dies. But 4 isn't 5, and I can gain 2 from the spawn coming back with Ascend. So I think I need to just attack and Ascend for 3, because I have to get back the spawn to not be dead. So this is earlier than I wanted to Ascend. I might still be dead if I'm missing... Oh yeah, they can pump with the Unicorn, and that makes 5. So I think I actually am dead if they put it all together. I don't think there's anything I can do about this. Like, basically, if they didn't have menace creatures, I could block and sack whatever creature blocks. You know, like, if they attack with Sellsword, I could block with one of my creatures and sack it to the Sepulture Ghoul and deal it no damage, and I'll lose a creature every turn, but I won't die. But if the Fire Beetle takes damage, I'm dead. And I'm a mana short of being able to sack to the Merchant. And is there any way I can not deal that thing damage? Like, if I take it, I take 5 and die. If I block it, it takes damage and I die. I don't see any way I don't die here. I probably punted this game. Maybe I could have gotten aggressive earlier, because I could have killed them, like, in another turn or 2 with my army. But, I mean, they top-decked this Fiend Lash. I didn't think... I mean, it wasn't in play. I didn't know whether they had it or top-decked. I think they top-decked it. But even if they had it, it was in their hand, not in play. So I wasn't really thinking about it. Wow, this is the first game that I think I should have won and didn't. All the other games, like, I think that the other 2 games we lost, I don't think were winnable. This feels bad, but I don't think there's anything I can do. If I had another mana with, like, a treasure, I could sack this to the Skullport Merchant. But yeah, no, that Fiend Lash just snuck in lethal. So, sorry about that loss. I feel like that was a winnable game, and I probably misplayed a little. Maybe I should have gotten a little aggressive earlier. I could have definitely ascended for a pretty profitable one earlier. Maybe I missed an attack or 2. I was playing pretty defensively, not just because they were on the aggro, but because I had the Ascend to bring everything back, and I thought we would just win through that value, and that I didn't think dealing them damage was worth much, so I was playing very defensively. That's not to say what I did was wrong, just because it didn't work out. I mean, that's a rare, it's not a card, it's not like it's a common, it wasn't in play, I had no reason to think they had that. It's a very specific card. Like, I was at a comfortable life total. I wasn't, like, worried they'd draw, like, a burn spell that did 2 or 3 to me to finish me off. I was at, like, 7. Yeah, I don't know. It was a good game. I'm not sure if I punted it at the end. There was a lot going on. Maybe the turn they played it, if I Skullport Merchant 1 turn earlier, then maybe, like, send 1 turn earlier to get back the Merchant, then maybe I can start blocking and sacking. The thing is, as long as they have menace creatures, I have to block with 2 different creatures and sack both every turn. It's going to be pretty hard for me to kill them while doing that. If they were out of menace creatures, then I'd only have to sack 1 creature every turn. What I'm saying, if you're not following, is I can't deal their creature damage or I die because of the equipment. So what I could do, since I had the sack outlets, the ghoul and the merchant, would be block and then sack my creatures before damage. And then their creatures didn't have trample, so they wouldn't deal me damage. And my creatures would be gone before combat damage, so their creature wouldn't take damage. So I would not kill their creature, but neither of us would take damage. I wouldn't take damage and their creature wouldn't take damage and die. So I'd have to lose a creature a turn, but I could kill them in a couple of turns with my massive advantage from the Ascend. So maybe I could have won that way, but I needed like a couple more points of life, or to have ascended earlier, or for them not to have like menace creatures, because I'm going to run out of creatures pretty quick if I have to sack 2 creatures a turn, and I can only sack 1 creature to the ghoul each turn, because that has the text, activate this ability only once a turn. But if the merchant's in play, then I could sack 2 creatures. I just have to pay 4 mana, which is, you know, a lot. I'd have to leave up 4 mana and lose 2 creatures a turn. Or but I would get to draw more cards off that. So that might have been a way to win. So I might have punted. I'm not sure. That was a really good game. I'm probably going to watch the video and review it. Anyways, I hope you liked this video. This is a very prototypical black-white deck in this format. This is what the archetype does. Little leaves play, comes into play synergies, the flash stuff that brings your stuff in and out. I think my deck was definitely better than 3-3. I had some pretty good rares. I had a good curve. I had a lot of the commons you want for the deck. I don't think my deck was anything special, but I think on average I'd go like 5 or 6 wins with this deck. But, you know, some tough losses, some good games. I hope you felt like you learned a lot and had a good time. Good luck in your drafts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.